In the year 2080, humanity stands at the edge of a decision that quietly reshapes its destiny. Not through war, not through conquest, but through construction, far beyond the ground we call home. For thousands of years, humans looked up at the night sky and imagined gods, stories, and unanswered questions. Now, in this future era, the sky is no longer just something to admire. It is a place to live, to work, and to rest. What once belonged only to explorers, scientists, and machines is now being redesigned for ordinary people. The idea sounds impossible. At first, a hotel floating above the planet, a place where travelers sleep while continents rotate silently beneath them. Yet, this is not fantasy anymore. It is a project, driven by necessity, curiosity, and the limits of Earth itself. The journey toward the first space hotel does not begin in orbit. It begins on the ground, where population density has crossed comfort, where cities stretch outward without end, and where the search for new experiences has become a powerful economic force. People no longer travel only to relax. They travel to feel something extraordinary. The oceans were crossed, the mountains were climbed, the poles were reached, and now the final untouched destination remains above the atmosphere. The demand is not just for adventure, but for perspective, to see the planet as a whole, fragile system, suspended in darkness. That desire becomes the foundation of the project. Before a single module is lifted upward, a difficult question dominates every discussion. How do you build something meant for comfort in a place that was never meant for humans? Space is hostile, silent, unforgiving. There is no air, no pressure, no forgiveness for mistakes. Every wall, every bolt, every material must protect life, while also offering warmth, familiarity, and calm. Designers are forced to rethink the meaning of hospitality. When gravity disappears, comfort must be redefined. Beds cannot simply rest on floors. Water cannot simply fall. Light cannot behave as it does on Earth. Everything must be intentional. The structure begins as a concept, not of a building, but of a system. A rotating habitat is proposed not for beauty, but for survival. By slowly spinning, the station creates artificial gravity, enough to keep bones strong, muscles active, minds at ease. This rotation dictates the entire architecture. Corridors, curved rooms, arc windows stretch along the outer ring, allowing guests to walk normally while the planet turns beneath their feet. Every angle is calculated, every surface tested not just for strength, but for psychology. Because humans need more than oxygen, they need a sense of normal life. Materials become the next challenge. Traditional steel proves too heavy, too costly to lift beyond the atmosphere. Instead, engineers turn to advanced composites grown layer by layer using automated fabrication. The idea is simple: build as much as possible in orbit, rather than launching finished structures from Earth. Raw materials are sent upward compact and efficient, then assembled by machines guided remotely from below. This reduces cost, risk, and dependence on massive launch operations. Over time, the construction zone itself becomes a quiet factory, circling the planet unseen by most of the world. Inside, the hotel space is divided not by class but by experience. There are private modules for rest, observation chambers for reflection, shared areas for movement and meals, and carefully designed windows positioned where sunrise and sunset occur multiple times each day. Guests are not rushed through schedules. Time behaves differently here. A single orbit lasts less than 2 hours, which means day and night lose their meaning. Instead, lighting systems adjust, gradually simulating familiar rhythms, helping the body adapt to an environment that would otherwise feel alien. Food presents another unexpected obstacle. Eating is no longer passive. In low gravity, crumbs float, liquids drift, and careless motion turns meals into chaos. To solve this, chefs and scientists collaborate, creating food that maintains structure, flavor, and comfort without reliance on gravity. Textures are redesigned, aromas controlled, and packaging minimized, so that eating becomes an experience rather than a chore. The goal is not novelty but familiarity, because in a place so unfamiliar, the smallest comforts become powerful. Safety remains the unspoken presence in every corridor. Behind every panel are layers of redundancy, independent systems, monitoring pressure, temperature, radiation, and movement. Guests may never see them, but they are always there, silent, vigilant, ready to respond in fractions of a second. Training for visitors begins long before arrival, not to turn them into experts, but to build respect for the environment. Emergency procedures are simple, repetitive, and practiced, because in space hesitation is costly. Calm preparation replaces fear. The psychological aspect proves as important as the engineering. Humans evolved under open skies, surrounded by sound, wind, and distance. In orbit, the silence is absolute. The walls are close, and the knowledge of separation from Earth is constant. To address this, designers introduce natural elements, simulated forests, flowing water projections, shifting skies, and subtle sounds. These are not decorations, they are anchors, reminders of home, helping guests remain grounded while floating hundreds of kilometers above it. As construction progresses, the world below watches quietly, aware that this project represents more than tourism. It represents a shift in how humanity defines belonging. If people can live even temporarily beyond Earth, then borders lose meaning. The planet becomes a shared origin rather than a divided territory. This idea unsettles, some inspires others, but cannot be ignored. The hotel becomes a symbol not of escape, but of expansion. Energy for the station comes entirely from the sun. Vast panels unfold like wings, capturing light without interruption. Unlike Earth, orbit receives sunlight more consistently, making solar power efficient, reliable, and clean. Excess energy is stored, redistributed, and shared with other orbital systems, proving that sustainability beyond Earth is not only possible, but practical. Waste is recycled, air is regenerated, water is purified repeatedly. Every resource is precious, every system closed loop. Nothing is thrown away, because in space there is no away. As the first interior modules are completed, the question shifts from how to build to who gets to come. The initial guests are not chosen for wealth alone, but for adaptability, health, and mindset. The experience is demanding, not physically extreme, but mentally profound. Seeing the planet whole can alter perception forever. This effect, known quietly among researchers, is both beautiful and overwhelming. The hotel prepares for this, not by distraction, but by guidance, encouraging reflection rather than consumption. Communication with Earth remains constant but delayed, just enough to remind guests of distance. Messages arrive slightly late, voices carry a subtle echo, reinforcing the sense of being somewhere else. This is intentional. The experience is not meant to replicate Earth, but to complement it, offering a new lens through which to understand life. Below, guests are encouraged to disconnect, slowly to observe, rather than broadcast, to exist, rather than perform. The opening of the hotel is not marked by celebration, but by quiet arrival. A small crew enters first, testing systems, living within the structure for extended periods, adjusting, refining, learning. Every correction improves safety, every mistake teaches humility. Nothing here is rushed, because speed has no advantage, where precision defines survival. Outside the windows, the planet rotates endlessly, clouds forming, dissolving oceans, reflecting light. City clusters glowing softly at night. Guests often stop speaking during their first view, not from fear, but from recognition. Borders vanish. Colors dominate. Fragility becomes obvious. Many describe the same feeling, not ownership, not power, but responsibility. The first commercial arrival is uneventful by design. No dramatic announcements, no spectacle, just a controlled docking, gentle movement, and the opening of a hatch. Through that opening steps a future where humans no longer see space as distant, but as accessible, not conquered, but inhabited. The hotel is not large, not crowded, not extravagant. It is careful, measured, intentional, built to grow slowly with understanding. Yet even as the first guests settle in, plans are already shifting. Expansion modules are discussed. research partnerships considered long-term habitation imagined. The hotel is only a beginning, a test of whether humans can bring empathy, patience, and care into environments that demand the highest discipline. Success here suggests possibilities beyond tourism, laboratories, habitats, even cities could follow. But those are future questions. For now, the focus remains on learning, listening, and adapting. On Earth, life continues unchanged for most people, unaware that above them, a new chapter is unfolding silently. Every orbit adds experience every day, refines the concept. The hotel becomes a mirror, reflecting humanity back to itself, revealing strengths, weaknesses, and priorities. It shows that technology alone is not progress. Intention is. As guests prepare to return home, many express reluctance, not because space is easier, but because perspective is addictive. Seeing the planet without lines changes how problems feel, how conflicts appear, how small individual concerns become against the scale of a shared world. This is perhaps the most valuable outcome, not profit, not prestige, but insight. The first space hotel is not the end of a journey, but the start of a conversation about where humanity belongs and how far responsibility extends. Beyond comfort, beyond curiosity, lies a deeper question. If humans can live gently above their world, can they learn to live gently upon it? The answer does not come immediately. It unfolds slowly, orbit by orbit, guest by guest, as the structure continues to operate, to evolve, and to challenge assumptions. And as engineers, planners, and travelers look toward the future, they understand that this floating hotel is not simply a destination. It is a rehearsal, a controlled environment where humanity practices becoming a spacefaring civilization without losing its humanity. Because what is built in orbit reflects what is valued on Earth, and the choices made here will shape not just tourism but the direction of expansion itself. The station continues to circle, quietly growing, learning, waiting as plans form for the next phase of construction, where new sections will extend outward, redefining scale, redefining purpose, and redefining what it truly means to build a home beyond the sky, while the story continues, without pause, into the next chapter, where deeper challenges emerge, and the limits of human adaptation are tested further, as preparations begin for systems that must support longer stays, more people, and a vision that stretches far beyond a Carning, single rotating ring toward an interconnected network that changes everything. As the structure continues its silent journey around the planet, a new phase begins. One that is far more complex than the first. The novelty has faded, and now reality takes over. Living in orbit is no longer an experiment, it is a responsibility. Systems that once operated under short tests must now function for years without failure. The question is no longer can this exist, but can it endure? Time and space is unforgiving. Materials age differently, radiation slowly alters surfaces, micro-impacts leave invisible scars. Engineers study every data stream, knowing that small changes today could define survival. Tomorrow, the hotel evolves into a living organism constantly monitored, adjusted, and improved. Artificial intelligence assists in managing thousands of variables at once, regulating airflow, temperature balance, energy distribution, and structural stress. Yet despite automation, human oversight remains essential, because intuition still matters in environments where uncertainty dominates. The goal is balance, not control, allowing systems to adapt while maintaining strict safety margins. Longer stays introduce new challenges. The human body adapts slowly, even with artificial gravity. Bones, muscles, and vision respond in unexpected ways. Medical teams analyze patterns, noticing that health is not just physical, but deeply mental. Isolation, distance, and altered time, perception affect mood, sleep, and motivation. To counter this, the hotel introduces communal rituals, shared observation periods, group meals, synchronized lighting cycles, and guided movement routines. These are not enforced but encouraged, creating a sense of rhythm and belonging that replaces the lost structure of Earth-based life. Education becomes part of the experience. Guests are no longer passive visitors, but active participants, learning how systems work, how water is recycled, how air is maintained, how energy flows, creates respect and connection. People care more deeply for what they understand. This transparency transforms tourism into stewardship. Each person becomes temporarily responsible for the environment that keeps them alive. As weeks turn into months, the hotel becomes a testing ground for social behavior in confined environments. Conflict resolution, communication styles, and group dynamics are studied carefully, not for control but for insight. Future habitats will rely on these lessons. Mistakes are addressed openly, small tensions resolved early, because in space, unresolved issues expand rapidly. The absence of escape forces, honesty, accountability, and empathy outside the structure. Earth continues its silent rotation. Storms form, continents shift under clouds, and city lights pulse at night. Guests watch these patterns change, realizing how interconnected systems truly are. Weather oceans, ecosystems, economies, all linked in fragile balance. This constant view alters priorities. People speak less about consumption and more about preservation, less about speed and more about sustainability. Supply chains are refined with precision. Nothing unnecessary is sent upward. Every kilogram matters. Reusable vehicles transport essentials while experimental systems test in orbit, manufacturing using recycled materials. The hotel slowly becomes more self-sufficient, proving that independence from Earth is not just theoretical, but achievable. Food production modules appear, growing plants in controlled environments, providing fresh oxygen and nutrition. These gardens serve both practical and psychological purposes, offering color growth and life in a place otherwise defined by machinery. As confidence grows, expansion resumes carefully. New rings are planned, connected by pressurized corridors. Each addition is modular, allowing isolation if needed. Redundancy remains the guiding principle. No single failure should ever threaten the whole. The architecture reflects humility, acknowledging that space does not forgive arrogance. With expansion comes diversity of purpose. Research labs integrate alongside living areas, allowing scientists to study microgravity materials, medicine, and human adaptation without disrupting hospitality. Guests observe experiments, gaining insight into why this environment matters beyond novelty. Space becomes a place of contribution, not just observation. Communication technology advances, reducing delay, improving clarity, yet still maintaining enough separation to preserve the feeling of distance. This balance ensures that the experience remains transformative rather than trivialized. Constant connection would collapse, the psychological boundary that makes orbit meaningful. The hotel is not meant to replace Earth, but to reframe it. Training programs evolve, allowing longer-term residents to stay, not just days, but months. These individuals are carefully selected, not for expertise alone, but for adaptability, curiosity, and emotional intelligence. They become caretakers, mentors, and bridges between visitors and systems. Their presence stabilizes the environment, creating continuity and institutional memory. The economic model shifts subtly. Profit remains necessary, but is no longer the sole driver. Partnerships with educational institutions, research organizations, and environmental groups redefine success. Metrics include knowledge gained, innovations tested, and awareness spread. The hotel becomes an ambassador for a different relationship with space, one rooted in responsibility rather than extraction. Public perception changes gradually. Initial skepticism fades as data transparency builds trust. Incidents are reported honestly, success is shared humbly. The absence of spectacle becomes a strength, reinforcing the seriousness of the endeavor. People understand that this is not entertainment, but infrastructure for a future that requires patience. Environmental impact assessments extend beyond orbit. Launch operations are optimized, emissions reduced, materials reused. The goal is to ensure that reaching space does not harm the planet it seeks to protect. This ethical framework becomes central, shaping decisions, even when cost efficiency would suggest shortcuts. As the years progress, the hotel faces its first major test: A minor systems anomaly triggers automatic isolation protocols. Guests are safe. Operations continue, but the incident exposes vulnerabilities. Engineers respond methodically, analyzing causes, implementing corrections, sharing findings openly. The response reinforces confidence, proving that resilience is not the absence of problems, but the ability to respond without panic. The event becomes a lesson, reinforcing the importance of preparedness. Guests witness professionalism, calm coordination and transparency, turning potential fear into trust. This shared experience strengthens community bonds, demonstrating that safety is collective, not individual. Cultural expression emerges organically. Art, music, and storytelling adapt to the environment. Floating performances, visual installations using light and motion, and shared narratives inspired by the view outside create a unique orbital culture. These expressions are not planned but encouraged, recognizing that creativity is essential to long-term human presence. Children are not present yet, but discussions begin quietly about future possibilities. Education in orbit raises profound questions about development, ethics, and responsibility. These conversations are not rushed, acknowledging that some frontiers require more reflection than action. The hotel's role expands further, becoming a staging point for deeper space missions. Crews preparing for longer journeys use the environment to acclimate, test equipment, and refine procedures. This dual purpose strengthens the argument that habitation in orbit is not luxury, but preparation. Through it all, the station remains humble in scale. Never attempting to dominate the sky, it exists as a small, bright thread against darkness, visible only under perfect conditions. A reminder that even large human achievements are tiny against the universe. Guests returning to Earth carry more than memories. They bring changed perspectives, influencing choices, careers, policies, and priorities. Some pursue sustainability, others education, others innovation. The impact spreads quietly, not through marketing, but through lived experience. Stories shared, not as spectacle, but as reflection. The hotel becomes a reference point in discussions about the future, not as a solution to Earth's problems, but as a mirror showing what cooperation, foresight, and restraint can achieve. When asked why it exists, the answer remains simple too: learn how to live better everywhere. As planning begins for the next generation of orbital habitats, lessons from the hotel guide. Every decision, simplicity over complexity, resilience over speed, ethics over exploitation. The foundation laid here informs designs that may one day support permanent communities beyond Earth. Yet for now, the focus remains present. The station continues to orbit, systems hum quietly, guests observe, reflect, adapt, and return. The story does not conclude because it is not meant to. This is a process, not a product, a journey without a final destination. And so the structure moves on, circling endlessly, carrying questions, insights, and possibilities, preparing humanity for choices still ahead as the next phase approaches, where staying longer, building further, and reaching farther will demand even deeper understanding, patience, and unity, and where the quiet experiment of living above the world continues to unfold without pause into what comes next. With every additional orbit, the environment teaches lessons no textbook ever could. Small inefficiencies that would go unnoticed on Earth become obvious here. A misplaced object floats into vents. A delayed maintenance task escalates faster than expected. And even emotional fatigue manifests in subtle ways. These signals are treated seriously because in space there is no margin for neglect. The culture that develops is one of awareness, where every individual understands that their actions ripple through the entire system. New training simulations are introduced using immersive environments, allowing guests and long-term residents to rehearse rare scenarios repeatedly without fear. This repetition builds instinctive responses, reducing hesitation during real events. Over time, these practices shape a mindset where calm replaces panic and preparation replaces hope. The hotel becomes not just a place of stay, but a place of learning through experience. Language itself begins to shift. Words associated with up and down lose relevance, replaced by inward-outward rotation. Sunrise is no longer tied to clocks, but to observation. This subtle change reflects deeper adaptation, showing how environment reshapes thought. Patterns of speech mirror patterns of movement, proving that humanity is always shaped by where it lives. Maintenance cycles grow more sophisticated. Predictive systems analyze vibrations, temperature fluctuations, and material fatigue, anticipating problems before they appear. Repairs are planned with precision, minimizing disruption and extending lifespan. This philosophy of care contrasts sharply with disposable habits on Earth, highlighting a different relationship with infrastructure, one built on respect rather than replacement. As confidence stabilizes, attention turns toward inclusivity. Discussions emerge about accessibility, ensuring that the experience is not limited to a narrow group. Design adjustments accommodate varied physical abilities, proving that space. Habitation does not have to exclude, but can instead innovate. Solutions developed here influence architecture back on Earth, demonstrating how extreme environments drive universal design improvements. The hotel's presence begins influencing policy conversations below data. Collected informs climate models, resource management strategies, and urban planning. Insights gained from closed-loop systems inspire cities to rethink water, air, and waste. The boundary between space and Earth blurs, not physically but intellectually. Over time, anniversaries are marked quietly, not with celebration, but with reflection. Each year represents lessons learned, challenges overcome, and humility reinforced. The station remains intentionally modest, resisting expansion beyond what understanding supports. Growth is measured in wisdom rather than size. Looking outward beyond the planet, the view remains constant, yet never repetitive. Patterns shift, seasons change, and the sense of scale deepens. This endless variation within repetition mirrors the hotel itself, stable yet evolving, fixed in orbit yet dynamic in meaning.